You know that feeling when you open your inbox and find another Google review from a happy client? Well, we feel the same way when our listeners leave a review on Apple Podcasts for our show.
It's honestly so helpful because reviews give you the words straight from your client's mouth that impacts the way you run your business going forward. And the same is true for us.
Yeah, when we read your reviews, it helps us understand what you love and what you want more of, which makes the show better in return. And really, everyone wins here.
So before you listen to today's episode, could you take 1 minute and leave us a 5-star review and tell us one thing you're loving about the show? We promise we'll be here ready to chat when you're done.
And after leaving that review, make sure you screenshot it and send it to support@modernagentsocialclub.com with your mailing address because we have a fun little surprise for you as a way to say thank you.
XOXO, the marketing girls. I bet you $1 million. Do you remember the
not just $5?
I always bet my odds $1 million. They can't find the original pancake recipe, of course, so it's like a whole thing.
Oh boy.
I don't know
the drama.
This up.
I feel like we need to add the music from Summer I Turned Pretty soundtrack in this episode instead of our own.
Yeah, is that legal?
How do I get more leads?
How do I stand out in my market?
Is it unprofessional to talk about my kids on Instagram?
Should I have one account or two?
Do I really need a personal brand as a real estate agent?
We are the Modern Agent Marketing Girls. We are two agents turned marketing experts who believe you can become the go-to real estate girl in your market all because you are you. I'm Chelsea Peterson, founder and CEO of Modern Agent Social Club.
And I'm Kayla Fox, Modern Agent's content creator. Let us be your guide as we talk about what it means to market your real estate business the modern way.
So refill your favorite beverage, open your notes app, and get ready to build a business and a brand you're obsessed with. Let's go. Hey, Kayla.
Good morning, Chelsea. Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Agent Marketing Girls podcast. How you doing today?
I'm good. I have my Roots coffee. Very on brand for local.
Yes. I love it. Okay, this is episode 24. And so even though we record ahead of time, it would have just been your birthday as people are listening to this live. So happy belated / early birthday.
I just read a book that had a time travel component, and this is giving time travel feelings. Very fun. So my birthday, I don't have any plans for my birthday this year. Obviously, when this comes out, I will have known. We a lot of times will go somewhere. I'm like a very experience gift type person. Like one of my good friends, she's always like, what are you getting your husband for his birthday? And I'm like, nothing. I want to go to like Sundara to the spa or like do something. And so we'll usually go to Door County, which is a very cute, I always say it's like the Nantucket of the Midwest, like very seaside, but it's Lake Michigan and little cute towns, and or it's kind of like 30A of the Midwest, either one. But very cute, quaint, lots of good local content up there. Like whether you're visiting or you live there, it would just be so fun to capture local content. One year we went to Nantucket for my birthday. So we're always like doing something. So I'm not exactly sure yet.
Ooh,
gotta get Mark on this.
TBD. Yes. Yeah. That's so fun. I'm kind of the same way too. I feel like I used to be like, well, I pretty much always just wanted to buy my own gift. But I've married a gift giver, and Brett is a very thoughtful gift giver. But it's not necessarily stuff that I'm like, ooh, I really have been wanting that. But it's always something where he's like, I saw this and thought of you, and it's always very sweet. But then I'm also like, but can I still get what I wanted to get? Because, but I feel like as I've gotten older, it's turned more into experience, which my birthday's in the summer too. And so I feel like that's like a great time to have a birthday.
I love a summer birthday. You're July 30th?
Yes.
July 30th. Yep. Okay, so I have a pop quiz question for you. If you were Mark, what would you get me for my birthday this year?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you just mentioned Sundara, and that's what I think of when I think of you now. But I also feel like having visited your town, which for those that don't know, Chelsea lives in Stars Hollow. It's like, it is the most quaint town, but it's not like it's super tiny either. But you have the best like local shops. I think of, what is the place that we went to where we did the really cool dinner, like the Alpine dinner, like the themed.
Oh, ID.
Yes, but that's like a hotel. So I would think like he would take you to a place like that and then, have some kind of spa experience, but also like do local shopping, sit by the water, that kind of thing. Is that what you would like?
I'm going to send this to him prior.
I love it. Your work wife is sending your real husband your birthday gifts.
Yes, I've actually done a photo shoot at that hotel.
Did you
But it
really?
was before your time. Yeah. With Katie Ramos was here for that. Yeah. It's such a cool hotel.
That's so fun. No, it was super cool. I loved it so much. So for anyone who wants something fun to do this summer, go check it out. I love it. This all leads us straight into exactly what we're talking about today, which is local content. And more specifically, we mentioned a few weeks ago that we have come up with like this whole theme for our membership and all the members, and all about like having a really clear, direct goal for a certain period of time. You know, we've talked 12-week year, we've talked all those things, and like having a clear marketing plan. But this summer, we're trying to make it really easy for our members and make their marketing plan to grow their local following and become like the real estate go-to girl in their community. So obviously, if they want to do something different, they're welcome to. But we're making it really easy on them by giving them all the content for it, all of the ideas, all the strategies, all the trainings, all of that to really like hone in and keep that goal really clear. And then they can kind of track their progress as time goes on. So today we're kind of like giving an overview of what that could look like for you, whether you're a member or not, and how to leverage local.
Our goal really is so that our members can stay consistent with their social media all summer and keep building that client pipeline for when fall comes, and not have September come and be like, wait, I just spent the whole summer like momming or, just so busy in my business that I didn't really do anything to keep growing, and make it easy for them. Like no brainer stuff, like not that you don't have to do anything, but that you're not worried about all the options and you're just focused on one option. Because that's when you say super focused is when stuff really happens. So we're going to help you do that and our members do that on another level.
For sure. How should we get started? What do you want to dive into first?
Well, I was actually listening to a podcast yesterday, Skinny Confidential podcast with, what is her name? I thought I wrote it down. Sarah Brooks. And she's the owner of a business called Goldilocks. She does branding for like product-based businesses, but she's brilliant and she gave tons of really good examples. Highly recommend this episode. I'll link it in the show notes. But what she said that stuck out to me so much is Lauren Bostic said, like, what is just like your one magic thing that you would tell someone like to grow their business, essentially make their brand more honed in? And she said, becoming absolutely obsessed with the consumer. And I love that.
Yeah.
And what our goal for you is to become absolutely obsessed with your local community consumer. So your local future buyers and sellers. And when you do that, your content shifts because you're not thinking about here's what I want everyone to know, but you're shifting it a little bit. So it's like, here's what they're going to want to see from this local realtor, and it makes them want to keep coming back for more. And that doesn't mean you can't still tell them what you want them to know. There's like a way to do both, but you're going to make them think it's all about them because no one's coming to your feed thinking like, oh my gosh, how could I support her real estate business today?
Yeah.
They're only coming if you are getting their attention and capturing it and then like keeping it. So we're going to help with how do we do that? Like, what do we post? What do we talk about? What are some strategies that are going to keep that momentum throughout the summer? And almost like if you can focus on this for 12 weeks, you'll be so far ahead of so many people.
Yes, I love all of that. So I feel like we could just dive in now and like kind of talk about a few ideas where, again, I feel like my brain is like on overload right now because I've been like brainstorming this for so long because I've been so excited for this episode and just for summer content anyway. And as I'm obviously creating the content for our members, my mind is just buzzing with ideas. But I feel like one place to start, kind of like what you just said, is as we're creating local content, we always talk about like share things from your perspective, share your point of view, but also don't make the content about you, right? And so it's kind of that fine line of like, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? And I think the easiest way to like explain it would be like, you want to share your perspective because you don't want to share what Google can tell people or what the Chamber of Commerce can tell people, but you also want to make it information that they're like dying to know, that they're dying to understand. So as you're saying, like, just for example, like the 3 places my kids are, like the first 3 places on our bucket list for this summer or whatever. It's about you. It's your point of view. Google's not going to tell them that, but that also is information that people are like, well, I want to know what those places are. Like, I don't want to be left in the dark. You know what I mean? And so as we're sharing all of our content today, whether it's through, guides you could create or posts you can create or anything like that, keep that in the back of your mind, that you want to continue to share things from your point of view, but you want to make it information that your people are like dying to know. And really, I mean, that is what's being obsessed with your customer is, right? That's like always thinking about like what's on the back of their mind. That's like our heart behind the podcast, the membership, all of those things. So like that's a really big deal.
I think with content too, the biggest thing to think about is what is the hook of the content? Because you might have like an idea, you might have a topic, you might want to talk about this or that, but how can you make that hook the thing that's going to stop the scroll? And I actually will save when I see a really good hook, I'll just save it to a folder on my Instagram, and then I'll spin my own content into a similar hook. I mean, it turns it into something completely different. Like right now, there's one I have, books I immediately wanted to reread after finishing. Like,
Yeah.
so, city name spots I immediately want to go to the second it feels like summer. Like that, like how it's a completely different post, but you're getting that, okay, that stopped my scroll, that got my attention. How can I flip that into my own business? So that's like one thing with summer content is really people are busy in the summer. Everyone's busy, not just you. Like everyone's kids are out of school. People are doing summer events and activities. I also feel like I don't know if I'm more like this because I live somewhere where summer is almost like it's almost like Wisconsin's a seasonal destination because
Yeah.
summer's so nice. And I don't know that it's like that everywhere. I know there are plenty of places like that, but even if it's not, the kids are out of school, there's different things going on and people are busy. So if you want to keep driving people to your Instagram, to your email list, like you have to have a hook with your content that's going to get them there. So I would focus more on, shouldn't say focus more on hooks than anything else, but I would put more like just like an email. Like you write this really good email and then your subject line isn't great and no one opens the email. It's like, well, shoot, like no one got to read my really good email. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with your hooks with social media. So have some good hooks this summer. You can get them all at Modern Agent, but we do lots of research on this. But okay, strategy wise, like what is something else someone can do to grow local this summer?
So one thing that we are teaching our members this summer, and I've seen some of them already like have success with it, is using, instead of talking about mini consults, which we've talked before, we kind of rebranded what most agents say as like a buyer consult or listing appointment or whatever, just to like a mini consult, just to kind of take the intimidation out of it and make it a much more like approachable, easy, this is normal, like this is no big deal kind of conversation to entice people. But we really wanted to like ramp those up this summer because of course like we want our agents to be having conversations with people in their local community that they could end up like helping buy or sell a house. So we rebranded those to summer strategy sessions. And what's cool about that is that these kind of little shifts in the way that you word things create so much FOMO. Like if when you're saying like, I'm off to a summer strategy session with this client and we're going to talk about this. And then you say something like, I only have this many available this week or this month or whatever. It makes people like want in on that because first of all, it's seasonal. So they know those are coming to an end and you're showing them like little glimpses along the way, whether it's through your stories or if you're mentioning it at the end of a post, like, hey, if you want a summer strategy session to get started, here's whatever. But we kind of rebranded it. We took like a couple different points from it. So I talked about how, they're only like 25-minute meetings. You can do them on Zoom or on like over coffee. And they are, no pressure, no contracts, whatever. And I kind of took these little blurbs and I reworded them like 3 different ways. And I used ChatGPT to kind of help like, what are 3 different ways I can say this so it's not like redundant, but it's also still repetitive and sticking in their brains. And we just like, we're talking about those so much. So I think like you could do something like that, whether you want to take that same idea or take something like it, but like rebrand something, twist something, put a summer twist on your content, whether it's like if you've always had a local guide, change it to a summer guide, that kind of thing. Make it something that is going to expire and create a little bit of FOMO with your audience.
Donald Miller from Building a Story Brand talks about sound bites for your business and having these repetitive sound bites that people, the consumer, your Instagram followers, your community, it becomes branded in their brain as that's your thing. And I think having something like a summer strategy session, especially because it's seasonal, it's going to stick in someone's head and you can't just talk about it once. Like this is where you got to get really, really repetitive on it. And we get asked a lot. I would say one of our main questions is like, how often do I talk about a freebie, about getting on my email list, a call to action about buying or selling, like something like a strategy session? You can add it as my favorite way is a PS on any post. So you have a
Yes.
post about local. The PS is get my summer local guide. You have a post about buyers. You have a PS to get, whatever your call to action is. You have the PS for that strategy session. So you're always adding these sound bites, and you don't need 100. You need just a couple that are going to become so, so memorable. All I have to say is I know, Kayla, you've been obsessed with Donald Miller forever. I was, and I kind of took a break, and now I'm back. But he is just so smart. So I feel like I'm like noticing when businesses have their sound bites. And I think it'd be really fun actually to do an episode on this where we kind of case study style when we know, like we could go through a bunch of accounts that are like, they have bit sound bites and kind of give examples, then spin it into like what real estate would look like. But having that like repetitive phrase or thing that someone can do to work with you is so cool. Like it's going to work so well for you. The other thing that I thought of as you were talking about turning a local guide into a summer guide is if you have a local guide, like don't overthink this, just add a page to the end that has like summer bucket list and city name.
Right.
You can just make it summer by adding something simple. You don't need to spend hours and hours revamping an entire guide. And sometimes that's the simple is like the more desirable. Like I don't need to look at 90 pages of something to like get value. I might just want like a one-page checklist. So I think keeping that simple is another good thing to do in the summer, and even make it like checklist style, like check, check, check. Oh, I did all those things, or make it customizable, like shared in a customizable way. And a family could print it and make their own. And you could even put one on there, like buy a house or like
Right.
talk to my realtor, schedule a summer strategy session, like to be fun and like brand it back to you. But that would be something that I would highly recommend doing this summer so that when you do have local content, when you do share different things, you have a PS, you have a call to action to give that's going to move the needle for you and not just be a piece of content.
Absolutely. And we provide a summer content or summer guide for our members, but it's really funny, like putting it together this year. We always give them, each a little refresh every year. And one of the things I was thinking about this year as I was refreshing it is like, let's call it something other than a summer guide, which of course for like our members, we're just calling it that. That way they understand what it is right away. But like teaching people how to like really, yeah, like you said, like put their own twist on it, brand it as their own. And again, to make it about their people, right? Like it's not about you. It's not even really about your community. It's about the people who are in the community. And so if you are, if you primarily help families or have a lot of connections with like moms, like I know a lot of our agents do, making it something really desirable. Like one member asked about this in our member group, and I just said, like, instead of calling it like City Name Summer Guide, call it like the thing that's saving city moms' lives this summer or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, make it something, again, that creates FOMO, right? If someone creates a guide like that in my community, I'm like, all 4 kids of mine are at home right now. Like, I need that guide. Like, I need that help. And so even if they're not thinking of you as an agent, even if they're not thinking of you as their like guide, they're going to want that. And then what's so cool is now they're on your email list, and now you have emails to drip to them, and you're on this campaign and on this whole funnel where you can continue to like serve them. So obviously, like if you're not in the membership, you can create your own guide totally, but like rebrand it to something of your own and like put things in there. Like ask yourself, like, what do my people really want to know this summer? If you primarily serve people who are, empty nesters, you don't need to put like free things to do with your kids this summer. Now you could be like the best places to take your grandkids this summer. Like talk about like winning the day with your people, right? But really, yeah, be very mindful of who your people are. And yes, you're going to repel some people. Some people are going to be like, well, I'm not a mom or I'm not a grandparent or whatever. But like, that's okay too. It doesn't mean that there's no value in it for them, but you're really going to like grow your local following and grow the trust in your community in you through content like that.
It's going to help you connect. And the connection is going to build the relationships and find things in common with someone. But you really cannot be afraid to be specific. Because when you are specific, people scroll by and think that's for me. When you're generic, most people are just going to scroll by. And I think this is an important time to kind of deep dive into this topic because people are so afraid to be specific. Whether it is a specific city and they're like, well, what about that one or this one or that one? Or it's a specific type of client. Like, well, what if I talk to moms and then people who are moms don't use me as a realtor? Like, we can't be so worried. This is honestly the number one business mistake every business owner and especially new business makes is they are so afraid to get specific, but getting specific is what's going to blow up your business. I bet you $1 million. Do you remember there's
not just
another episode.
$5.
I always bet my husband $1 million. No, I'm serious. We've been talking with a friend recently who started a business and we're trying to like help them see the difference in that clear messaging when you're specific versus the broad messaging that people are like, huh? Like going back to though, just being really specific in what you want to do. Like, so like, yes, naming your summer guide. I just put in ChatGPT right now, like, I want to create a local summer guide for moms. What are some name ideas? So like just that simple addition of mom or of busy CEOs or of people who love Hallmark movies. You could do anything, right? But like the mom days of summer, hot mom summer guide, which that might take us a different direction. Mama summer survival kit, sunshine and snack packs. Like even if you use something like that as a slogan or like a funny way of adding on to it, it makes it feel like it's for someone versus feeling like, yeah, I don't know, that's probably not for me or I don't need that, you know? And we're so afraid to do it. And I wish we wouldn't be so afraid to do it.
Right. Absolutely. So in our guide this year, I added a whole thing about like having a nostalgic summer because I think sometimes people look at like summer bucket lists even as like completely unattainable. Like we don't have the time for it. We don't have the money for it. My kids are in 50,000 camps. Like I don't have the capacity for it. But if it's about like slowing down and like just finding those nostalgic moments in your summer that can really be nothing more than like eating popsicles on the porch or like going to the ice cream truck, those are so much more like doable and whatever. And you can even like tie that into, you know, like visit this local ice cream truck or like watch out for this one or get popsicles at the pool, at this local pool or whatever. Like you can make it very specific to your community, but give it that little twist. Like don't be afraid to get specific. Don't be afraid to attract and repel. That's going to really help you. Like you're putting coins in the trust bank, right? Like it's like all of those things are telling your community like, I understand what it's like to live here, I understand your life, and I'm here to help you. And they're like all bought in.
Yes. So let's get specific and not be afraid to repel.
Yes.
It will it also makes everything so much more fun. You know, here is another question that I think comes up a lot is like, how do I know who I'm talking to? Like, who do I pick as like the person to be specific about, right? Like, I mean, mom is like a really easy example, moms, but like there's many other ways you could go with that. But I think what I always like to tell people is a lot of times it's similar to you because you're going to connect with someone who has similar interests, similar hobbies, a similar phase of life. It's just easier to connect. And going back to our, you know, original example, which is in episode 1 of our podcast of like a cocktail party. When you meet someone at a cocktail party, you're going to connect because you have something in common. So when we try to make our ideal client completely unrelated to us, it's very difficult to do attraction-based marketing through local content, through real estate content, and attract those people because you're not like them. So like, how can we instead just lean into like, where are we at in our life? Who are we connecting with? And like, let's say I'm going to give you a one-off because there's always everyone has an exception. Everyone thinks they're special. Let's say you get a lot of leads from an attorney and you help a lot of divorced couples sell their home and navigate that. That is not going to be your social media focus. That is something completely separate in your business, and you can handle those referrals and all of that. We don't need to focus on social media with that, though. I think that's sometimes a disconnect, too, is someone has this one area of business, now that it's their full client pipeline, and they're like, but how do I do that on social media? I'm like, well, you don't need to bring that to social media. That's like a separate relationship and connection and like lead funnel. But social media is like, who do you want to attract in addition to that? Who would be like the person you would love to work with over and over and over and get referrals from people that are similar to them in buying in similar areas, in, you know, neighborhoods that you're really familiar with? Like, what is that? Because that's going to look different. So you can have other lead sources and things, but that doesn't necessarily mean your brand is going to be focused on those random things, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And again, the whole attraction and repelling thing, like, it doesn't mean you're not going to work with those people, like what you just said. The example I used to always use before my sweet, precious grandma died was that Nike, their whole brand is geared towards athletes, right? Like, and of course they're a huge brand. Like they have so much, they don't have to follow all the rules anymore because everyone knows who they are. But like, as an example, their ideal client is an athlete. Does that mean that my grandma never bought their shoes? Absolutely not. She liked their shoes. But what if they would have been like, well, I don't want to like detract all the grandmas of the world, so now I need to talk to them too. Would athletes be bought in? Would my husband's football team wear nothing but Nike? No. Like they want to draw into something that's clearly for them. You know, we say the same thing about our membership, and how we don't cater towards male agents. Does that mean that male agents cannot join the membership? No, of course they can. We have a few, but we decided, well, actually you decided long before I came in that like our content, what was going to make us different and what was going to make our content better was that if we really geared it towards female agents, who, by the way, are more than half the industry, but also who market their business differently. And like, let's be honest, women are the ones in most households making those buying decisions. Like, yes, a husband might make like big picture decisions, but if he's got a wife saying, no, this is the agent I want to work with, this is whatever, like a lot of times they listen to that. So like we purposely are like, you know what, at the risk of ignoring a large chunk of people who could be in our membership, we are going to dive in to the people that we know, like, this is for me. In fact, I gotta read this. I got a message a couple weeks ago from a girl who said, her name is Ashley. She said, I signed up for Mask yesterday and I already love it. So much so I want to cry of happiness because of what an overwhelming task keeping up on social media with a sea of other agents is. When I opened the templates, it was like you knew me and exactly what I wanted my brand aesthetic to look and feel like. So glad I went for it and I will never go back. Would she have said that if our brand or if our templates were nothing but like black and white? Like, do you know your Zestimate isn't, who cares? Like, she would have been like, yawn. But she saw our stuff and she was like, this is what I've been trying to do. Like, yeah, you just took this whole shoulder, So I just think, again, I feel like we're beating a dead horse here, but I just do feel like it's very important for agents to understand that.
It is a really important thing. And I think of if you're a husband and wife team, there's, again, so many people with an exception to the rule. I still think if you as the wife are leading your team account, you're going to make it more your vibe. You're not going to try to create this overly generic piece of content so that because you're probably not attracting other men as a husband and wife team. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's you could go deeper and deeper and deeper, but like the more you are just whoever you are, the easier it's going to be to attract the right fit clients. Like our membership grew so much faster when I just leaned into it instead of like, it was always like, that's what I want to be, but like, I'm afraid to be that. And like, once I just am, like, it just brings in a flood of the right fit people. And there's no more like, well, do you think you could make templates for like husband and wife teams? Like I haven't had that question in so long because I am just so for a specific agent. And not that, again, yes, anyone could join the membership. Anyone could, whatever. But a lot of times what I found back then was like when someone would, it wouldn't feel like the right fit to them. And therefore, like same with you, if you're attracting really I shouldn't say bad fit clients, but clients who make the process a struggle or clients who make a lot of, ask a lot of questions that kind of question whether or not they trust you. Like it's a kind of avoiding all of that. That's what you're really doing. And I don't know how we got so deep down this.
I know, but it was just very important. Okay.
Do you ever get to the end of a podcast episode and feel like, oh, now I have to wait until next Tuesday for more?
Are you asking me or our listeners?
I mean, I was asking our listeners, but now I'm curious. Do you feel that way too?
Honestly, I might. I mean, if it weren't for Modern Agent Social Club, because members get to be in the middle of marketing conversations like this every single day.
That's true. For our members, it's basically Marketing Girl Summer.
Exactly. Like, sun's out, strategy's out.
So if you love the podcast, maybe you've already started trying a few things and you're seeing results, but just imagine how much more momentum you could build inside the club.
Because the podcast is where we talk strategy, but inside Modern Agent Social Club, like, of course, you're going to get great content, as I do say so myself. But more than that, you're going to get a results-driven marketing plan.
Carousels and reel prompts and emails, it's all great. But how do they all work together to make you the real estate go-to girl? That's why we provide you with an entire marketing system so you don't have to figure out how all these pieces connect.
So if you're tired of waiting a whole week between episodes and you're tired of DIYing your real estate marketing, make this your most fun and productive summer yet.
And join us today at modernagentsocialclub.com for your first official Marketing Girl Summer. Now back to the show. I have another one that I want to talk about.
Yes.
This one is so easy. Any single person listening can do this, and you don't even have to create a piece of content necessarily. Okay.
Tell us your secret, Chelsea. What is it?
Pick a local spot to get obsessed with this summer. Just one.
Mm-hmm.
And don't overthink whatever it is. I know you are all over there like, oh my God, what should I pick? Just pick one.
What would yours be, Chelsea?
Roots.
Yeah. Mine's a library. Yep.
Library. Okay. Done. And make it a point to go at least once a week and or get takeout from there or have a picnic there or go on a walk. Like it doesn't have to be even money spending, the library. Our library, by the way, this would be so cute to document. They do like a reading thing for kids every Wednesday. This summer, they're doing it at the beach.
Oh my gosh.
That's so cute. So I'm like,
so
oh my gosh,
cute.
I'm for sure taking Henry to that. But I would document it every week. When I say document, you're going to take a picture when you're there. And maybe while your camera's open, you also take a 10-second video clip and then you put that in your Instagram stories. Yeah. And if you're feeling really motivated, you turn it into content with a good hook. And now you have you repeat it and it just becomes familiar. It becomes comforting when we're specific and we make our content familiar. People want to stay or stick around. They want to stay there. I'm reading this book right now, The Strawberry Pancake House or something. It's from that same series that made us laugh for 25 minutes on a different episode. But in the book, this guy gets a job as a chef at a local diner that's been around forever. And he was like a world-renowned chef, like fancy foods in New York and London and whatever. And he comes to this diner in this small, tiny town, probably very Stars Hollow-ish. It probably is kind of modeled after that. It's called Dream Harbor. And he changes the pancake recipe. And he makes like these fancy ricotta lemon something pancakes. And everyone's like sending them back. Like, I hate this. Whereas the regular pancakes. And he talks to this girl and she was like, people have been coming to this diner since they were, since they grew up here and they want their regular pancakes. They don't want poppy seeds in their pancakes. They don't want ricotta cheese on their pancakes. They want the original pancake. And so they can't find the original pancake recipe, of course. So it's like a whole thing.
Oh boy.
I don't know
the drama.
This up. So anyways, the point is like people have it's comforting to talk about the same thing over and over. It's comforting to share that local spot that other people also recognize. And you're going to do it from the context of like, I'm an agent doing this. So you're never leaving the real estate out. You're making it a part of it because you want obviously the goal is to be the real estate go-to girl or guy or gal. It's not to just have a local blog, but that's where what we're talking about comes into play. You're doing both, and that's what makes the content so exciting and fun and attraction based. So
love it.
Become obsessed with just one spot, and every week try to go once a week and document it. Put it in your content.
So good. I have literally nothing to add to that because you know it.
Perfect.
The next one though is going to be, I'm calling it, I'll say shareable local content. You and I have become totally obsessed with this lately. It has completely blown up our account, and we're seeing our members, the content that we're creating for them and how they're customizing it. They're saying they're getting so many like local shares, follows, all of those things. It is all about, like everyone's seen them. You log onto Instagram and there's like these like fun nostalgic pictures and it says something like this and an inbox at 0 or this and like we've done like an accepted offer, that kind of thing. So the biggest thing to keep in mind with any pieces of these content is you don't want to share something funny or relatable or local just for the sake of sharing it. You still want it to be on brand to you. I was just creating some the other day that we're sharing soon that were like local like rom-com like female leads like Elle Woods and again, Reese Witherspoon from Sweet Home Alabama, all of those. So we were taking some of those characters and like adding like real estate things to them. But I wasn't going to add like even like we talked about We love the movie Bridesmaids. Both of us do. I'm not going to add a clip from there because that doesn't really like mesh with our brand, even though we personally like it. So we're still staying on brand, staying on target, and we're making all of that content about our ideal people. Not about us, not about our business, not about our job, but about our people. And so, as a local real estate agent, I think one of the easiest ways you can do this is to find a few things from your town. And maybe a good way to start this is for like the next week, open up your notes app and just start like writing down anything that you can think of. Things that like your town is known for, things that everyone in your town, like if everyone in your town calls even like a gas station a certain name, even though it's not technically called that, like you write that down. Write down like what everyone orders at the local diner. Write down what everybody does for the 4th of July. You know, like all of those things, and like make it things that the goal should be that other people from the outside looking in don't really understand what you're talking about. They don't understand why that's funny or like great. But what happens is when you pair like little lines like that, you can take like, you know, these viral little like one-liners and you can add local content to that, and then either add like a photo. You can add a photo from like dupe photos. A lot of our members use some of like our stock photos, but you can also add like local photos, like pictures of your actual water tower or of your library or of the coffee shop or wherever. Mix those all together and put those in your content. People love seeing themselves in your content. Like locals will get so excited to see something. Like one example off the top of my head is like, I'm a city named Mom. Of course I stop by local coffee shop every time I drive by to get myself a little treat. What mom is not going to reshare that because she's like, yeah, I'm guilty. Like that's me, you know?
Or send it to a friend.
Yes.
Or it's
the group
again
chat.
going back. It's going back to the point of getting completely obsessed with the consumer, completely obsessed with local. This type of content is almost like an inside joke, and not that it has to be humor every time, but it's almost like an inside joke with your local community. Like if you're not from here, you won't get this.
If you know, you know.
There's a lot of like local accounts. There's a girl who does like a ton of Wisconsin stuff, and it's so funny. Like every single one that I see, I'm like, nailed it. Like because I'm from here, but if you saw it, you'd be like, what? Like you're probably not going to see it. And that's the other point of this. It's almost as if this was the whole point. That's actually one of them. Almost forgot this is the whole point.
Yes, exactly.
Another trend. Almost forgot this was the whole point. And it's like a picture of for me, I would pick like the Kilty ice cream diner drive-in thing that everyone goes to in the summer. Mark tried to take Henry the other day and it was like 2 cars deep, like so busy. Like it is the place, and it was only like April. Like I mean, it just opened. So you just take these little fun trends and you pop in your own city, but don't just do anything in your city. Do the things that's why we talked for so long about getting specific. Get specific with what type of things you're talking about, whether like who you're talking to. If you are, let's just flip it into like, if you love golfing, you could do a whole golf vibe with this type of a topic, like, and pick the different golf courses and pick whatever. I remember hearing once that there's a guy, and I don't know who he is or anything, I just heard this, who his whole account is about golf, but he's a realtor.
Okay.
He connects with everyone through local golf courses and golfing and whatever, but his account like barely has anything to do with real estate. It's purely connection. And I don't necessarily recommend that. I like the meshing of the two, but he had a ton of business from this story that I heard. So I'm like, you know, you lead with your connection point. You lead with your relatability factor. And if someone can relate and see themselves in it, they're like, sign me up. Like, what are you selling? What can I do to work with you? You know?
Yes, exactly. So one hot tip that we have started implementing that we've seen results from, so we're going to pass it along to you, is when you do posts like this, first of all, you can always add like music or something to it that can a lot of times give you more visibility as well. But the other thing that you can do is one of like the last slides, you can add something that's like all about yourself. That way it's just like a little like sprinkle of yourself as a realtor or like the agent, like the go-to agent.
Well, you could go a few different directions with this and you can change them up. So maybe your big summer goal, and here's where we can kind of come back down to what is my main goal this summer. Add that as your end carousel slide so that like even if it's like a funny, relatable swipe through, like, oh my gosh, this is great, sending to my friend, saving, screenshotting and texting. How many times do you screenshot and text it? Because I want my friend to see it right now. I don't want to wait for her to get it on Instagram. But when you add this to the end, maybe for you, you want to grow your email list with new people, with local people. So at the end carousel slide, it's a video of you talking, saying like, hey, if you like this post, you'll probably love being on my email list.
Yeah.
Inside I shared ... And then you tell them how to get on it. Like,
yes. And no one's going to feel duped by that. No one's going to feel like, oh, she really got one over on me. This one I made here, there's a whole bunch of them, but it's the trend that's like tastes like, and it's like pictures of different beverages, but it says tastes like playing cards on the patio at city name, and then tastes like girls' night at a local winery. Like that's kind of blurry. But then the last one, I used a picture of you, and it says tastes like looking for a new home with my favorite realtor after a summer strategy session. So like,
oh, I love this.
So again, that's probably not the slide that everyone's going to share, but as people are sharing that content, people are like, more and more people are going to see that, and they're probably going to look to your account. So let me just let you in on a little secret. Doing this one time is going to change absolutely nothing for you. Like, if people see this, even if they absolutely love the post and they like it and all of that, most of them are probably not going to follow you from that, because what they're going to do is they're going to look back at your account and they're going to see like, do I see myself in more of her content? Like, does she share more stuff like this? If it's your first time, they're probably going to just hit the road. But make it a habit of doing this. And I would even venture to say, if you want to do the same kind of thing that we're doing in the membership, where we're like, we are growing our local following this summer, I would share posts like that twice a week.
I want to say one more thing about that. So those posts are shareable. They will get you in front of more local people. But here's the question I want to ask you first. When they get to your account to decide, do I want to follow her? What are they going to see? Because this is a big piece to that, is if your account doesn't have like, if there's like random pictures of soccer games and vacations and like
a billboard.
Here's a billboard just listed. Here's the like just completely random. They can't figure out, like, if you think of it like a store, which I just gave this example to a member, and they come to look at like deciding if I should walk inside the store, that's like your feed. Are they going to decide to walk in? And if it's completely random, or it's like buy now, like just listed everywhere, are they going to walk in? Are they going to click follow? No, they'll probably be like, that was a funny post, but see ya.
Right.
Like, next. So what you can do to make sure they would click follow would be to make sure that you're posting the content cocktail style of content. And that's what our members are having so much help with, because it's like, here it is on a silver platter, as Chelsea Harold would say, and you just have to like eat from the platter, like take from the platter what you want. It's all handed to you. So prepping your account, making sure that like they're going to want to click follow on your account, that's like a big part of this, because we don't want to spend all this time creating content and then it's like, well, I didn't get anyone to follow me.
Right, exactly. And you're also going to create stuff like this, and we've done it too. We've shared some things and we were like, oh, that was a bit of a miss. Like, what was it about that, you know? The other thing that we have done is we pay attention to the slide that people share. So I feel like we've gotten a little bit better, and people are sharing. You can look at our account too, Modern Social Club on Instagram. You'll see what I'm talking about. But a lot of people toward the beginning, we were kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to see like which ones are people really liking and gravitating towards. And then I would pay attention to the ones that people weren't paying attention to. For example, for our audience, whenever we share something about motherhood, or we share something about like loving our local community, or something about like a TV show like White Lotus or whatever, those are going to get shared. When I was sharing things that were more
Watch
geared
all the
towards...
other real estate memberships copy this.
Well, I know, right? But they already do, so
you're
whatever.
always one step behind.
Exactly. But then I noticed, like, okay, the ones that they're not sharing are the ones that are more like almost like luxurious, like, oh, you know, after a long week of real estate, this is how I spend my time. And it was like in a hotel robe or on a fancy date night and things like that. As much as what maybe we aspire to do those things, the majority of our audience was more like, I'm just sitting by the sandbox with my kids, you know? And so now we create content more geared towards that. Talk about like insight on who your audience is and what they want from you. Like, you can learn so much. I mean, this is so like twofold. Like, you can grow your audience, but you can also like learn so much about them and like really create content that really caters toward them from here on out.
So you notice that one thing, or that those few things that people gravitate towards, and then you go to make your next local guide, or, you know, like maybe just improve the one you have, give it a little bit of a like refresh. Now you maybe pull one of those that wording, or even, that local spot, or that, hot moms, whatever,
Yeah.
like you pull that into the title, you pull that into the tagline, you pull that into how you talk about it, and now it's going to resonate. So you see the patterns. I always love talking about the patterns
Mm-hmm.
because, and Adam Mosseri said this, like we want to look at patterns, not individual pieces of content.
Mm-hmm.
And we notice every time we do this, there's a pattern,
Yeah.
and people like it and people share it. And now you can get even more nitty gritty because you are able to say, okay, this content's working. Now let's get even more deep on what about it is working. And I'm going to repurpose that everywhere else. Like, for example, if we wanted to run an ad, picking some of that wording apart
Mm-hmm.
would be really, really smart for our ad. And what I love so much about all of this is it's so uncopyable at the core, because yes, you could copy the concept, but everyone has a different audience because we are all different. So you could do this and be like, well, the other agent in my area did this, but your stuff should look so different. Like
Yeah.
another one I saved that I just geek out over this stuff. So like if you do too, like make sure you're on our email list, make sure you're everywhere, because like
Mm-hmm.
this is all we do all day, every day. It says Monday, I'm not going out this weekend. And then Saturday, it's like they're filling up martinis.
Yeah.
But
Yes, I saw that too.
what I like about this one is you could do it for like think about your whole summer and like write down in a Google Doc or in your notes app or a piece of paper, what are some of like the main events you love to go to? Like for me, I'm thinking like the beer garden is super fun. It's outdoors. There's lights, there's live music. The Stonebank Farm night that we always go to, that's like a couple times a summer. So maybe I'd like pick and run with those two events. And I know in my head, like, okay, that's coming up end of June. I want to make like that piece of content. Me, I'm not going out this weekend. And then like me on Saturday at the Stonebank Farm night, like you
Right.
pull the event into your piece of content, super relevant, super shareable. And if you somehow maybe hopefully have a clip of that you could use from like a prior year, and if not, you could still do this, and you share that, like imagine people sending it to their friend, like, did you know this is on Friday, or la 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 la. Now you're getting all these
Mm-hmm.
shares from your account. And like that's so fun. Like
Yeah.
you're like inserting yourself in the community so much through
Yes.
this simple content strategy.
Yeah. Can I just say, so we have a member, Kristen, who lives about 5 minutes from my house. We go to the same church. We actually went to the same high school. We both married guys from our town where we live now. And we both have 4 kids. We both have sons named Luke. Okay. Lots of similarities with lots of things in common. We're friends. She made a post like this, and I messaged her and I said, what's so funny is out of those 10 slides that you just shared, I would probably have only shared one of those. And like, we have so much overlap, but like, your lives and your personalities and your people are still so different, even though we live in the exact same place. So it's so true. Like when you really like leverage that, and it goes again just to show like it's community over competition, but it's more than that. Is that if you are yourself, there is no competition. Like no one else can be you. And yeah, maybe they copy you, like we just talked about, but like they're just one step behind that. Like they're not gonna be the leader in the industry that we know that you are gonna be. So I love that.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy about the Kristen post. That's so cool. What a good example.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, it's working. Like it, and again, everything that she shared, I was like, oh, that's cool, or I recognize that, or whatever. But like, not only. I think there was only like one thing that I thought I probably would have shared something similar. Everything else of mine would have been completely different. So
I always think of it's so fun to compare it to even like your best friend. Like you probably have so many things in common. And I think of like my best friend, so much in common. We're very similar. Our husbands are like, you guys are like the same personality. But still, if it came down to it and we both made that post, same thing. There would be, she's in a phase of life where her kid's always at baseball games and tournaments and whatever. I'm at a phase of life with a toddler. We at the core have so many differences. So even though you could say like, you guys are so similar, you like all the same things, you this and that, like we're still going to have different audiences.
Yep.
And that's so cool because it makes it so much easier. And then even in the sense of like, I want to like, oh my God, I wish I thought of that idea that she did, or I want to do that idea. A lot of times you can, and you're just looking at it too closely. So like instead of thinking like, I wish I thought of that, think, what about that do I like? And how can I turn that into like my personality? Because like
Exactly.
people copy so blatantly when really we don't want to copy it all, but like you can be inspired by someone and then put your own spin on it and it will work way better for you rather
Yeah.
than like, I always think back to when I wanted to like my brand to feel more like luxury and I was like, it just didn't make any sense. Like I was looking to people who had nothing to do with the industry I was in and it just what didn't fit.
Right.
And not that you can't have a luxury brand if you want a luxury brand. It's that like maybe you're following too closely of the wrong people.
Right. Exactly. Chelsea, I feel like we could talk about this. Our whole podcast could be nothing but local content ideas, and we would never run out of episodes. But we are kind of running out of time. But I will just say, I just want to like briefly go over a couple other things that we're talking about with our members in full detail this summer through trainings, because we're really like helping them knock it out of the park this summer, knock it out of the ballpark that they're probably sitting at all the time. Other things, well, not me either, thank God. Although we just went to a baseball game and our youngest Luke was like, well, that was kind of fun. And we were like, crap. Like, we love sports, but baseball is so demanding of your time. Anyway, some of the things that we're going to be talking about in depth with our members so that they can take this even farther this summer and like, again, work smarter, not harder. We're giving them the templates, the tools, all of those things include signature series, which I can't believe we didn't get a chance to talk about, a local signature series, local emails that like really involve your audience and help them see themselves and their content some more, starting a local Facebook group, creating local merch, a local podcast. I mean, like all of the things that we're like, the sky is the limit when it comes to getting in front of your local community and being known as that real estate go-to girl, even if you're not the top producer in your community, even if you're not with the biggest brokerage or whatever, there's so much that you can do. Yeah, exactly. Not quite yet. The last thing that I want to say though is, I know we've like talked about James Clear, I feel like so much this summer already, but he had a quote that he says where he's like, when you make a decision, ask yourself, what type of person do I want to become? So as you are creating local content and as you're trying to get in front of your community, and maybe you almost feel a little bit like a fraud or a little bit like an imposter where you're like, I'm not even from here. I've only lived here for a few years or a few months or whatever. Or I've never really been a person to go to all these local places and now all of a sudden I am. If you're feeling any of those things, tell yourself, well, I'm the type of person that, and then gets involved in my local community. I'm the type of person that loves where I live. Like, tell yourself the story that you need to get yourself to do the actions that it takes to get the results that you want.
A lot of times we are literally talking ourselves into the opposite of what we want to be. Like, but I don't go out, but I don't do that, but I don't have any friends here, but and you're literally creating this persona for yourself that you do not want by constantly saying those things. So I love the James Clear quote. There's so like hang one on your wall, like pick one of his quotes, like Google like Atomic Habits quotes and pick one, put it on your computer, put it on your bathroom mirror, like put it somewhere to remind yourself like this is something you can do and anyone is capable of doing at least one of the things we talked about today. And like one little tip on signature series, pick one thing we talked about today and do it every week or every month this summer and you have a signature series.
Done.
Yeah. It's really simple. We're overthinking it.
Every time we overthink it. But, but I think it's because it's all from a good place. Like we want to create great content. We want to stand out in our industry, which is getting harder and harder to do, I feel like, in the world of noise, but then also like just life, right? Like there's so much distraction. And so like, how do we really stay on top of our game? And I think sometimes we try to, not that we're looking for like the viral solution, but also like we're overlooking the people that are literally right across the street from us who, could relate to our content and could like think of us and refer us and all of those things. So it's important to think more locally than virally.
As you say that, I'm reminded of this post that I shared that said, in a world of virality, be the agent who is obsessed with local.
Yep.
And maybe I butchered the way I just said that, but something like that. So that's a great note to end on. Thank you.
I love that. Very cool. Chelsea, this is such a fun discussion. I hope our followers, our listeners loved it and are inspired and are ready to become the real estate go-to girls in their community this summer.
I hope this is the summer that all of you turn local and into modern agents.
I feel like we need to add the music from Summer I Turned Pretty soundtrack in this episode instead of our own.
Yeah, is that legal?
I don't think so, but if it is, Adrienne, you go right ahead. Awesome.
All right. Bye, everyone. We will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
I'm so glad we got to hang out today. If you're as sad as I am that our time is up, I've got good news. There are a couple of different ways we can keep the conversation going.
First, follow us on Instagram at Modern Agent Marketing Girls and introduce yourself in the DMs. Also, we always have a free Modern Agent resource available, so check out today's show notes for the goods.
And finally, hang out with other go-to real estate girls like you and finally create a marketing plan that works when you join Modern Agent Social Club. All the details are in today's notes.
XOXO, the Marketing Girls.